What if I told you that every single time you exhale, you're releasing fat? Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally, chemically, out of your lungs into the air. What if one of the biggest reasons so many of us struggle to lose weight has nothing to do with what we eat? It has to do with how we breathe. Here is something that almost nobody in the wellness world is talking about. We are a generation of overeaters. We are also a generation of overbreathers. These two things are not separate problems. They are the same problem wearing different masks. Today, we decode that connection. By the end of this episode, you will never look at a breath the same way again. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to BreathMath, the podcast where we decode the art and science of balance through breath, body, and mindful living. I'm your host, Nisha, and today we are getting into something I've genuinely been waiting to talk about: weight loss. Before you think, oh, another wellness person talking about weight loss, this is not that episode. We are not talking about calories, not about what to eat or what to avoid. We are talking about something far more fundamental. Today's episode has three parts. First, we answer a question that sounds simple but almost nobody gets right. Where does fat actually go when you lose it? Then we talk about a connection I find absolutely fascinating: the link between overeating and overbreathing, and why they are really the same problem. And then we close with something practical you can start today. By the end of this, the way you think about weight loss will be shifted. I can promise you that. Let's get into it. The question nobody asks. Let me start with a simple question. When you lose weight, when fat actually leaves your body, where does it go? Physically, where does it go? I have asked this question to people in yoga studios, in wellness workshops, to fitness trainers, to doctors. The most common answer is something like, you burn it off, or it converts to energy, or my personal favorite, it turns into muscles. Oh, friends, no, you cannot turn fat into muscle. That's like saying you can turn a mango into an apple. They are different things entirely. Even most medical professionals don't know the real answer to this question. In 2014, a physicist named Ruben Meerman, not a doctor, a physicist, did something fascinating. He surveyed 150 doctors, dietitians, and personal trainers. One question: when fat is lost from the body, where does it go? Most said it converts to heat, it converts to energy. Mirman thought, that's not chemistry, that's a feeling. That's not what actually happens at a molecular level. So he sat down and did the math, the actual molecular math. What he found: when you lose 10 pounds of fat, 8.4 pounds of it leaves your body through your lungs. Say that again: 8.4 pounds out of 10 through the lungs, not through sweat, not through urine, through your breath. The remaining 1.6 pounds comes out through sweat, urine, and other fluids. That's what everyone assumes, but it's the smaller part of the story. The primary organ of fat loss is not your stomach, not your muscles, not your skin. It's your lungs. Can we sit with that for a second? This changes everything about how we think about weight loss. The math of fat. How does fat leave through the lungs? Let me explain, and I will keep it simple. Fat is stored mainly as triglycerides, molecules made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. When your body breaks down fat for energy, which it does constantly, even right now as you listen, it needs oxygen. The products of that reaction, carbon dioxide and water, CO2 and H2O. That's it. The CO2, that's the carbon from the fat, gets exhaled through the lungs. The water exits through sweat, urine, and the breath itself because every exhale carries a little moisture. Every time you exhale right now, some of those carbon atoms were sitting in a fat cell in your body not long ago. Your body broke them apart, combined them with oxygen, released them as CO2. You breathe them away. This happens constantly while you sleep, while you walk, while you sit here and listen. Fat metabolism is not something that only happens when you exercise. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. If fat leaves the body as CO2 through the lungs, and CO2 is the exhaust product of fat metabolism, then the health of your breathing directly affects the health of your fat metabolism. We as a generation have a very serious breathing problem that nobody is talking about. We are overbreathers. You have heard the phrase overeating 1,000 times, but have you heard the phrase overbreathing? Probably not. That's the problem. Overbreathing, chronic hyperventilation in medical terms, doesn't mean panting or gasping. It doesn't look dramatic. Most chronic overbreathers look completely normal. They breathe through their mouth, they shy a lot, they take big, audible inhales before speaking, they breathe from the upper chest instead of belly. The average person today breathes 16 to 20 times per minute at rest. The optimal rate, 8 to 12 breaths per minute. We are breathing far more than we need to every day without realizing it. The problem with breathing more than you need to, you don't get more oxygen. It's actually the opposite. This brings us to the Bohr effect. We have covered this in an earlier episode, but it's central here. When you overbreathe, you exhale too much CO2. CO2 is not just a waste product. It's a signal that tells your red blood cells to release oxygen to your tissues. When CO2 drops too low, your hemoglobin holds on to oxygen instead of releasing it. Your muscles, your organs, your brain, they get slightly less oxygen than they need. Your body reads this as a mild emergency. Cortisol rises, the sympathetic nervous system activates. The body shifts into protection mode. Protection mode promotes fat storage, especially around the belly. The loop, overbreathing leads to low CO2, which is going to impair oxygen delivery, leading to stress response, increasing cortisol level. Cortisol increases fat storage. At the same time, fat exits as CO2. So, chronic overbreathing is disrupting the very chemistry that allows fat metabolism to complete properly. The direction is very clear. The way you breathe is directly linked to how your body manages weight. But here's what modern wellness never tells you. This is the part I really want you to sit with. Why overbreathing drives overeating. Two angles, one truth. This is the part nobody talks about. Once you understand it, the whole weight loss conversation looks completely different. Overbreathing drives overeating in two ways. One is biochemical, one is deeper. Let's talk about the biochemical one, the energy angle. To understand that, we need to talk about ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of every single cell in your body. Every heartbeat, every thought, Every muscle contraction runs on ATP. Nothing happens without it. Here's the number that changes everything. When your body produces energy without oxygen, anaerobic metabolism, it produces 2 ATP per glucose molecule. And when it produces energy with oxygen, aerobic metabolism, it produces 36 to 38 ATP. Same glucose, oxygen present, 38 units of energy, oxygen absent, only 2 units of energy, a 19-fold difference. Now think about what chronic overbreathing does. The Bohr effect. Oxygen stays locked in the hemoglobin, can't release into the cells. Your cells become oxygen deprived even though your blood is carrying plenty of it. Your cells are forced into anaerobic metabolism, 2 ATP instead of 38. You are eating the same food, same calories, but producing a fraction of the energy you should. Because the oxygen needed to complete aerobic metabolism isn't reaching the cells. A factory receiving all its raw materials, but the power to the machines is cut. It keeps sending the same signal. Send more. You feel tired even after a full night's sleep. A low, persistent fatigue that coffee masks but never resolves. Brain fog, heavy body, and by mid afternoon or 6 p.m., or whenever your low energy window hits your craving, not protein, not vegetables, not a slow burning meal. Carbohydrates, sugar, fast fuel. Your body knows instinctively that fast carbs can produce some ATP quickly, even without oxygen. Inefficient, 2 ATP instead of 38, but fast. The body is desperate. This is not a willpower failure. This is a cellular energy crisis driving a nutritional signal. Your body is not asking for food out of greed. It's asking because it cannot extract enough energy from the food it already received. And here's the other side, it gets even worse. The fat already stored in your body cannot be metabolized efficiently either. Fat metabolism is an aerobic process, it requires oxygen. Without adequate oxygen delivery to the cells, stored fat cannot be burned. Fat metabolism slows, fat stays. So you are eating more, burning less, storing more, still exhausted throughout all of it. Not because you lack discipline, because you lack oxygen at the cellular level. Nobody told you that the way you breathe determines how much energy your body can extract from your food. That is the missing link no diet plan addresses. The nervous system angle, the deeper layer. This is where the biochemical story meets the human story. Why do we overeat? Processed food is designed to override fullness signals. Social eating, emotional eating, boredom eating, all real. But underneath most of these reasons is one thread. We eat not because the body is hungry. We eat because the nervous system is overwhelmed. We eat to feel safe, calm, to have a moment of relief in the middle of loud, demanding world. Same question, different word. Why do we overbreathe? We are stressed, living in an environment that keeps our nervous system on a low, constant simmer. Screens that trigger emotional arousal. Nobody ever actually taught us how to breathe. We breathe through our mouths because nobody told us not to. We breathe shallowly because our posture collapsed around a keyboard. We breathe fast because our world is fast. Can you see it now? The energy crisis from overbreathing creates cravings from below, from the cells demanding fuel they can't convert efficiently. The nervous system dysregulation creates cravings from above, from the brain reaching for comfort it can't find any other way. Both roads lead to the same place, more eating, more storing, more exhaustion. The hunger is not always for food. The breathlessness is not always for air. Both are the body reaching imperfectly, desperately for regulation, for the feeling of I'm okay. Overeating and overbreathing share the same root. A body and nervous system start off what they actually need: oxygen delivered properly through a calm and regulated breath. That's the connection. That's the whole story. What happens when you breathe right? We have spent a lot of time on what goes wrong. Now let's talk about what happens when it goes right. When you breathe slowly, nasally from diaphragm, CO2 stabilizes. The Bohr effect works in your favor. Hemoglobin releases oxygen properly. Cells shift back into aerobic metabolism from 2 ATP to 38. Same food, same meals, nearly 19 times more energy extracted from them. The fatigue lifts, brain fog clears, the mid afternoon crash gets shallower. Energy steadies, cells finally running on a full charge instead of a backup generator. The carb cravings quiet down not because you're restricting, but because the cellular emergency driving them is over. Now, for those specifically on a fat loss journey, this is where it gets very direct. Fat metabolism is aerobic, completely oxygen dependent. When breathing is correct and oxygen reaches the tissues, the body can finally access stored fat the way it was designed to. The fat breaks down, the carbon leaves as CO2 through the lungs. 8.4 pounds out of every 10 exhaled. Your lungs are not just a breathing organ, they are your primary metabolic organ for fat loss. This is why pranayama is not a warm up or a relaxation tool sitting at the edges of your weight loss journey. It is the journey. It restores the metabolic conditions that allow your body to do what it already knows how to do: convert stored fat into CO2 and breathe it out. On top of that, slow diaphragmatic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Cortisol drops, visceral fat storage slows, insulin works better, blood sugar stabilizes, leptin and ghrelin, your fullness and hunger hormones, regulate properly. When sleep improves, the whole hormonal picture improves with it. The urge to stress eat diminishes, not through willpower. The nervous system that was generating those cravings is simply no longer in overdrive. Two pathways, one practice. Energy restored from below, cells back in aerobic metabolism, fat burning properly. 38 ATP instead of 2. System calmed from above, cortisol down, hunger hormones regulated, the reach for food as comfort no longer necessary. Your own breath, free, available right now. Doing the work, nothing else can. Three things you can start today. Let's make this practical. I never want you to leave an episode with just information. I want you to leave with something you can actually feel. The first, audit your breath. For the next 24 hours, just notice. Don't change anything yet. Are you breathing through your nose or mouth right now? Is your chest moving more than your belly? Do you shy a lot? Do you hold your breath when you check your phone? Most people have never paid this kind of attention to their own breath. The act of noticing alone begins to shift it. The second, the 5-minute muscle reset. Do this in the morning before you eat and in the evening before your last meal. Close your mouth, breathe only through the nose. One hand on your chest, one on your belly. Your belly hand should move, your chest hand stays still. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 1, breathe out for 6 counts. That longer exhale is everything. It's when the parasympathetic nervous system is most activated. Chemically, it's when you are releasing CO2, the molecular remnants of fat metabolism. You are training your body to let go slowly, completely. 5 minutes, about 30 to 40 breaths. Compare that to the 100 plus breaths you would normally take in the same time. Your shoulders will drop, your mind will quiet. That's not relaxation, that's respiratory chemistry correction. The third, nasal breathing during movement. Whatever you do for movement, walking, yoga, light cycling, keep your mouth closed. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. At first, it will feel difficult. You will want to open your mouth. That feeling is just your CO2 tolerance being tested. It's not dangerous. If you need to open your mouth, you're going too fast. Slow down, keep the mouth closed. Over weeks, CO2 tolerance builds, aerobic capacity improves, your body becomes more efficient at burning fat. Exercise becomes less of a stressor and more of a regulator for your body and your nervous system both. We decoded the hidden weight gain connection hiding in every single exhale. One thing to carry from today: your lungs are your most important fat loss organ. Your nervous system is the gatekeeper. Every slow, nasal, diaphragmatic breath is actively supporting the chemistry that allows your body to release what it no longer needs. Fat doesn't get burned away, it doesn't get sweated out, it gets breathed out. 8.4 pounds out of every 10 through your lungs with every exhale. The next time you feel frustrated about your weight, overwhelmed by another diet, or you feel like your body is just not cooperating, come back to this. Not to willpower, not to restriction. Come back to the breath. Right now, somewhere in your body, fat is being broken down into carbon dioxide. With the next breath, you will exhale it into the world. Those carbon atoms, a few hours from now, will be absorbed by a tree. They'll become glucose, a leaf, a flower, a fruit. The carbon that was stored as fat in your body is returning to nature, to the cycle of life. Isn't that something? You're not fighting your body, you're breathing with it, one exhale at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me on BreathMath. If today's episode gave you something, share it with someone who has been struggling with their weight and has never been told that their lungs are part of the equation. They deserve to know. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, breathe well, stay balanced, and live fully.